Hi guys, we're back. I told you that we were coming with discussions and lessons on the resurrection, and I'm going to be starting that now. I wanted to get a little head start on it because in a few weeks I'm going to be speaking on this at Georgia State University for a few weeks, and they're doing like a 4-week study there, and not the university itself, the Baptist Collegiate Ministry at the school is having me come and talk, and I wanted to sort of, for lack of a better term, use you guys as a guinea pig. Sorry. We won't be running mazes or anything, but I guess that's more mice, isn't it? But I just wanted to go ahead and talk about some of the stuff, sort of run through my head. I am going to ask the favor of, hey, if you have any thoughts, like maybe why is my hair going there, and a beard hair, like the last video. Those of you that saw that was loads of fun. But any thoughts you might have, I'd love to hear from you. Some way to help me fine tune this and make it more better. That's not really. Shut up. Yeah, I would love to get any. You don't have to put the comments here live if you're worried about people reading. So here, you private message me. You can send me an email at wickedmanministries@gmail.com if you like, or you can call me. My phone number is there on Facebook. So if you could, I really would appreciate not just say, hey, this was great, but what aspects of it really resonated with you? What things spoke to you most? What things where you're like, I never thought about that before. That's really a good idea. Or things you're going, that didn't make sense. Or could you clarify that more? Or what is the evidence? What is the tangible, hard evidence that you have for these claims that I'm going to be making? Because there is evidence. I want you to know this. I'm not just going, I'm going to think through this and tell people what I think. I have, and you can ask my family, I have books upon books upon books. I have notebooks of notes after notes after notes I'm taking. I am constantly sitting there reading this, studying over this. This is something I want to get right. This is something I feel called to. This is something I feel it's a burden on me to make sure I get really clarified and talk to you guys, because I feel like this is something that people need. The key thing is we have evidence of the resurrection. I have claimed before in the other videos that we have more evidence of the resurrection than any other ancient history event, and that's a fact. And we're going to be talking about some of that today. But today I want to cover some of the logic things, some of the circumstantial evidence type things. First, I want to explain circumstantial evidence. Some of you be well know that I've studied criminology for years. I worked for the GBI briefly, and I was studying to be a criminal profiler. I was wanting to be that guy, but I studied, crime scene investigation and forensic deduction things and reasons and logic. I'm rambling here, but I studied a lot of that stuff. And so, but one of the things is circumstantial evidence. A lot of people make the mistake because of movies and TV that circumstantial evidence can't be trusted. Because you hear people say in the courtroom dramas, that's only circumstantial evidence. Well, I can tell you right now, I bet you about 90% of the people in prison today are there based on circumstantial evidence. And so let me give you an example of circumstantial evidence. Let's say you write a letter to grandma, and you put it in the envelope, you put a stamp on it, you stick it in the mailbox, raise the flag, and leave. You come back at the end of the day, the flag's down. Well, it is possible that somebody else came out, put the flag down, took the letter. It is possible, but it is more probable more reasonable to say that the mailman came and took the letter for you. That's circumstantial evidence. That is evidence. You didn't see the mailman take it. You didn't dust for fingerprints or anything like that. But it is reasonable to say he probably took that letter. Now, the key thing is, in a couple of days, you're going to get a hard artifact type evidence, because grandma's going to call us, oh, thank you for that letter you sent me, oh, dearie. And that's my best grandma voice. I'm sorry. But see, so there will be evidence coming. But initially, your circumstantial evidence is the mailman. And it is reasonable to say the mailman came and took it. And that is strictly circumstantial. So a lot of people want to look at the evidence of the resurrection and say circumstantial. But I want you to listen to the evidence I'm giving you today, and are some of the reasonable thoughts today, and see if you start to see these as these possible circumstantial evidence. I'm not giving you evidence today. I'm giving you logical reasons or reasoning. Okay, so this is basically what would I expect to see if the resurrection were true. First off, I would not expect to see photographs or video or audio. Anybody that's demanding that type of evidence, they may as well discount all ancient history because we don't have that. I would expect writing because that is the means of transmitting information back then. But I wouldn't expect writing. I would expect a lot of writing. A lot of writing. In Greek alone, we have 5,800 original manuscripts of the New Testament. Some people are writing this a lot. In all languages, we have almost 30,000. 30,000 original manuscripts. Meaning the original paper that we can date back to around 100 and 150 AD, things like that. And that's just the writing itself, just the paper, dating the paper. The writing in it, because of the evidence mentioned and because of the evidence of other outside sources, we can date that stuff back to 5 or 10 years after the resurrection. And that's historical scholars. That's not biblical people. That's not religious folks. That is historical scholars who do see the New Testament as historical documents. They might choose Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior and God, but they see this as that. Anybody that tells you on YouTube or any other thing that says nobody believes the Bible, that's totally false. Historians read and use the eyewitness testimonies of the New Testament as fact, as far as at least the existence of Jesus and the events that took place historically. They may not want to say he resurrected, but they will say that these guys believe they saw him. And they will say that these are historical and were written then, not 300 years later by Constantine and St. Jerome, which is a foolish notion already to begin with. And we're going to cover some of that. Just to give you an example of the 5,800 that we have, compare that to Homer's Iliad of a 1,900. We have 1,900 manuscripts of Homer's Iliad. Sophocles, who wrote Oedipus Rex, we have three original manuscripts. 3. So these people were writing a lot. They were, man, this is important. We need to get this down. You should copy what I'm writing and give to other people. Take this to people. They felt the need to tell. That's the other thing I would expect to see. People will feel the need to tell this. This dude was dead and is alive again today. Man, people need to know this. It's just, like if somebody famous is coming down, you want to know, hey, so it's people want to feel the need to tell amazing things. I would expect also to see, if the resurrection were true, not just one witness. I'd expect loads of witnesses, hundreds of witnesses. And they would all be writing, like I said. But like with Islam, we have Muhammad, the one guy. He says, hey, this is what I was told. With Mormonism, we have Joseph Smith. Hey, this is what I was told. One guy. I would expect loads of witnesses writing it down, and that's what we have. Even outside the Bible, there are plenty of writings historical of Jesus and the resurrection. It's just the ones that were chosen to put in the Bible because they were direct connection to apostles, and they were used early on, so they were trusted. I would expect also immediate effects. If the resurrection were true, I would expect immediate effects. This guy was dead and is alive today. It shouldn't take hundreds of years. Most religions, hundreds, 500, 600, 700 years after the initiating event or figure exists, before the religion really forms, sometimes before the writings about what this guy supposedly said even make it to paper, or hundreds, sometimes 1,000 years later before you actually start writing, oh, this is what we did back then. And it's like no way to say that really happened. The New Testament, we have within 5 to 10 years of the resurrection, people are writing down what happened. And that can be proven. That is proven. Okay? This is not just, church folks saying, oh, God, the Bible is true. This is a historical fact. Historians that do not believe Jesus is God say this. This is true. I would expect some non-believers to know about this and therefore talk about it. If you want, hey, dude, did you hear about that dude that was supposedly died and is alive again. Did you hear about that? That is, I don't believe it, but I mean, have you heard that story? That's the kind of conversation you'd have. And we have Suetonius, we have Serapion, we have Tacitus, Trajan, Pliny the Younger. That's just the first five that come off the top of my head. We have about 20 sources outside of the New Testament that wrote about this. They didn't say Jesus Christ rose from the dead, but they made reference to Jesus, made reference to Christ, made reference to Christians, and made references to him being alive again after death in some form or fashion. So they weren't believers, but they were still going, man, have you heard about that? So that's another thing I would expect to see if the resurrection were true. I would also expect some of those people to be angry. And if I don't believe this resurrection story, but people are all talking about it, and I just, I got to expect some of those people to be angry. Why are they telling this? This can't be true. I mean, if you say, really, why would you expect that? Look at politics today, man. If somebody says this happened, conspiracy theories pop up, whatever, people are so angry at each other over different conspiracy theories and things. I have been one of those guys. It's easy to be angry when people go against what you believe, and there were people clearly angry because they were killing Christians for saying that they had seen Jesus alive and believed in it. I would expect at least one of those religious leaders who are expecting to see the Messiah come. I'd expect at least one of them to see this and go, this is the way it's going to happen. Well, we had Nicodemus. We had Joseph of Arimathea. Both of those were religious leaders, and they clearly believed Jesus. They talked to him. They clearly chose to see him as true. But the biggest one is Paul. Paul was such a fervent believer in his religion that he was killing Christians because they were speaking blasphemy against God. And so he was on his way to kill Christians, or at least with letters giving him authority to have it happen when Jesus appeared to him after the resurrection. And that's a vast, drastic change in his life to choose, because he saw this is the Messiah. He fits all the prophecy. He fits all the signs that we're expecting. He's just not coming the way we thought. We thought, no prophecy says he's going to come and rule and get rid of Rome, but we thought that's what it meant. But now I can see it's much bigger than Rome. Is King of all. And so I can see people, some religious leaders going, wait, we had it wrong. This is the guy. So there were converts from that side. I would expect some aftermath. And there's a lot of aftermath, but one of the main things that I like here is this. Because the Jews are saying to the Roman leaders, hey, they came and stole the body. That's why it's not in the tomb. And so this is a fact. This is a stone tablet we have in archaeological evidence, is that Rome made a law that it was after the resurrection, that it was unlawful to take a body from the tomb for any reason. I think it says for nefarious reasons or things like that. If you're doing something to be naughty, don't be taking those bodies from the tomb. But that law didn't come into place until after the resurrection, or at least a stone tablet where it was carved came into be after the resurrection. They may have had the law and they just knew it. They just hadn't really carved it down or something. But we do know that this stone tablet came into existence after the resurrection. But there's so many other things that you consider aftermath. All of the stuff of Christianity, all of the Nero burning Christians on poles in his backyard to light his evening dinner parties. That's a thing that the Roman historians wrote about. This is an aftermath thing. The Christians were so fervent, they were willing to say, okay, fine, if you're going to kill me, whatever. The aftermath is beyond this few minutes I want to talk here. I will cover more of it, I promise you. I would also expect, if the resurrection were true, that those closest to him to have the greatest changes in their lives. James, Jesus' half-brother, didn't seem to believe. When you read the Gospels, he was saying things to Jesus like, man, you should just keep doing those miracles. Like, all this talking about God and loving people, nobody cares about that. Just keep doing the magic show, and more people will come. And so it's like he didn't really seem to get it until Jesus rose. And then he was drastically changed. Wrote in the Bible, and also was stoned to death for believing. And all the guys, I mean, all the disciples apparently believed to an extent. Peter believed to an extent, but when it came down to it, he was like, oh, wait, maybe I don't. When he denied 3 times. I mean, you could say he had gone along to see if he could possibly help Jesus escape. Who knows why he was following along. But he denied 3 times. And the rest of the disciples were hiding. They didn't come to the tomb on 3 days later, on the morning of, when the women were there to see him. The men were hiding. So they didn't necessarily expect to see him again. Doubting Thomas said, I'm not going to believe it until I touch him. And this guy was with him, heard his teachings. And forever, he is now known as Doubting Thomas. That's kind of stink. That's how I'm known forever. We get to see him in heaven. He says, thanks for that. Yeah, it was just Thomas to everybody else, but no, you guys have to call me Doubting Thomas. Thanks so much. As you wouldn't have ever doubted. But these guys had drastic changes in their life. They were the closest. They heard the most. And they finally went, oh, this is what he meant. Because you can see it in their writings after the resurrection. All of them were willing to die after this. And that's another thing. If the resurrection were true, I would expect to see lots of people willing to die to say, I saw it. If I see you steal donuts, and somebody comes to me and says, hey, did he steal his donuts? I might say, no, man, he didn't steal his donut, because I know you're going to give me some of that Krispy Kreme later on. But if somebody holds a gun in my hand and says, hey, did he steal the donuts? I'm going to say, oh, yeah, he took those things. I saw it. My story's going to change depending on what the consequences of my story saying the same or not. These guys were willing to die. If they were lying about it, that would be foolhardy to die the death they died, knowing it was just a lie anyway. They weren't getting any power from it. They weren't getting any fame or fortune from saying, hey, Christ lived again and kill us for it. There was no benefit to it. They weren't sitting there thinking, we're going to create a world religion, and it's going to go all over, and everybody's going to be worshiping God, and they're going to be talking about us later on, 2,000 years. They said, they saw it, and they said, we're going to kill you if you keep saying that. And they said, we have to do it. Another thing I would expect to see if the resurrection were true, I'm going to give 2 more. I would expect, given enough time, for it to be worldwide. And there's not a country on the planet that hasn't heard about Jesus Christ. Now, there may be people, but there's not a country on the planet, there's not a continent that hasn't heard about Jesus Christ. There are churches all over the planet preaching that he died, that he was God, that he died, and he rose again. All over. And speaking of him being God, the last thing I would expect to see if the resurrection were true is I would expect that one who died and rose again to be worshipped. People would say, that guy's God. It wouldn't be just like, man, that was cool. Can you do something like that? It would be a little bit bigger than just a magic trick. It would be, you're legit. You said you're a God, and I believe it. There would be people worshiping this guy. I can't say that being there, I would have done the right thing. I would have believed the right thing. I don't know. I don't know that I would live my life even now just totally believing it, considering how much is told on YouTube and the internet and movies that are made claiming this and that about Jesus. And every Easter we get the History Channel coming up and saying, is Jesus really real? Is the tomb really real? The resurrection really happened? We get those every single time. And you get these secular scholars going, well, it just doesn't really make sense because we know that men don't live again. All these things, psychological reasons. We develop our own religions. All these silly notions that ignore just these few logical things that I've stated just now. But, I'm not a scholar. I'm just a wicked man. Thanks. See you next time.